Good morning, everyone. This is not MWUSA. This is 5 a.m., making my second appearance on the podcast. Unfortunately, I'm not in the USA right now, so I did this from home, back in my home country in Europe. But MWUSA asked me to give you guys an overview of some recent events. Because somewhere last year, I unfortunately got arrested by the Coushatta tribe, which is a tribe in Louisiana. And obviously they own a casino named the Coushatta Casino. And I just want to give you a walk through my perspective as a European on the whole arrest, the things that happened, but also, just kind of the unfairness of a lot of things that went on and the results of everything. So let's get it started. So on a random weekday afternoon, I was driving through Louisiana. My first casino of the day was the Coushatta, and also happened to be the last one, but I didn't know that yet. So midday, quiet casino, I park my car, I go into the casino, there's a high limit, 100 min, and I play for about 10 minutes. And in those 10 minutes, I lose about $2,700 and I get the tap. And this is like a very, very quiet high limit. It's daytime. There's 2 tables with 2 dealers. It's like one of those high limits that is like not connected to the main floor at all. And there's one pit boss. So when I get tapped on the shoulder and I turn around and I see 7 people in suits and uniforms, I'm like, wow, these guys are definitely like trying to intimidate me. However, the back off was super friendly, professional, also like from my side, super chill. I have no problem with pit bosses or back offs 99% of the time. So this went down pretty chill. So I try to walk out of the high limit, and then I have to pass that group of like 7, 8, somewhere around that number of those officials. And they stop me and they ask me for ID, and I politely refuse, say that I just want to cash out, and they don't really respond to that, but I just look at them and then I start walking, go to the cashier, and I'm like, okay, and they're definitely going to ask me for ID. So I give my chips, which was a few grand, and they cash it out instantly. I go out of the casino, back to my car. And once I start driving my car on the parking lot, I see a vehicle waiting for me to leave. And I only see the front. I see that it's white. So I was thinking it's the parking patrol, if I can call it that. They're in the parking surveillance, I call it that, just to, well, first of all, intimidate me again. And second of all, they're going to try to get my license. So I go and they follow me, and it's just like a few, maybe 100 meters to the road, probably less. European metric system. So I don't really know how much that is in any American language. Just a few seconds drive, and when I look in my rear view mirror, I see that there's lights. I'm like, wow, okay, like whatever. They're really trying to intimidate me. So I exit. I go onto the road and I see that the car is still behind me, even though this road is like, 60 miles an hour. So it's like, okay, that's probably not the parking people anymore. Let's pull over. I pull over and I see that there's a lady in the car. By this time I realize it's very probably police. And she takes like, in my head, at least 5, maybe 10 minutes, she's just sitting there and just communicating with the casino probably what she should do, or to her superior at the police, whatever. Then finally, she comes up to my car and she says, hey, can I see your driver's license or your ID or something like that? And I'm like, what am I being pulled over for? Of course, like I'm not willing to give up my ID. Is what I think. It's not what I said yet. And I think she started with, I made a road stop on you, so I want to see your ID now. And I again say, well, I need a reason for you, like, to pull me over and ask for my ID. Then she said, well, you've been cheating at the casino, so I want to see your ID. Which is, of course, complete bullshit. I mean, we're all APs. We all know that I've not been cheating. If I was cheating, I would have been arrested there on the spot. So obviously, this is just the tactic of the Kushada tribe and the Kushada casino to get your ID. They just make it seem like you can walk away really easily, but they will use the F-in police to get your ID. It's just so pathetic, even after losing all that money. So this goes back and forth for a while, and she doesn't get back to the cheating anymore, but she says, well, no, I made a road stop on you, I want to see your ID. And that was her only argument. I made a road stop on you, I want to see your ID. And in my head, I'm like, no, I'm not going to let them strong arm me into giving ID. And that is kind of the main reason why I didn't give it. I feel like it's so incredibly unethical to pull a practice like that. And yeah, I know that tribals can do whatever, but that doesn't mean that they should. And also I feel that we as APs should not easily bow for their weird actions. I feel like we all carry some kind of responsibility of not making it too easy for them to do these pathetic things. So I was like, it was kind of taking one for the team at that point. Just like, don't give up your ID at the table. Like, put up that fight, not just for yourself, also for the legacy of the game. Anyway, so this back and forth is going on between me and her, and then the backup comes. And the backup is a guy that was also there at my back off. It was actually the guy that asked me for my ID and was chill about it when I refused. And then we go back and forth anymore. And I got a small recording. It's actually really hilarious because that was the only moment he came to the window, was like, we just met at the casino, right? You didn't want to show your ID, which is, as far as I know, your legal right. So, yeah. And that was it. Like, he didn't really want to say anything anymore. And this guy was super chill throughout the process. So then they went on when discussing together. And then they said, you're going to show us your ID or we're going to get you arrested. And I thought they were bluffing. They were bluffing for a long time. So that went back and forth as well. And then when I even refused then they took some time apart again, made some calls, what it seems like. And then apparently they pulled the trigger. They got the green light to arrest me. So they came up to my window once more, this time on the driver's side. All the others were on the passenger side. So this time on the driver's side. And she said, okay, this is your final warning. If you don't give us your ID now, you're going to get arrested. And I thought that they were still bluffing. Maybe super naive. I mean, looking back at it, yes, that was naive, but yeah, whatever. I have this part on video, which is hilarious because I got the police discovery later, and the police discovery, for the people that don't know it, I didn't know what it was. It's just their whole report on how things went down, and this is crazy to me coming from a very, very civilized country in Europe where you can trust the police, but the police report was full of lies to cover their asses. Anyway, she says in the report, I asked 5 a.m. to step out of the vehicle, and he resisted. Or no, he refused. And I asked him again, he refused. She says that I refused it multiple times. Throughout this whole thing, I was super cooperative. So she tells me, get out of the vehicle. I ask her, can I roll up my windows? No, you can see me getting ready to leave. Like literally you see me unbuckle my belt, stepping out. And this is, for me as a European, we all have seen the videos about American police. This was such a typical American police moment because I'm just super chill. And suddenly she starts screaming and pulling me out of the car, or like not screaming, but like being really loud, pulling me out of the car, escalating the situation for no reason. I didn't say anything offensive like at any time. She pulls me out, tries to bend meanwhile I try to close the door because in the car there is a ridiculous amount of money. And I'm not speaking of a few thousand, like tens of thousands of dollars and then more towards the high end. So I'm trying to close the door. That's why I also wanted to roll up the windows because I didn't know what was going to happen. She pulls me out, tries to put my arm behind my back. And I've never been arrested, so I didn't know like how I had to behave. She really didn't like that I wasn't supposed to close the door. I didn't know. Like, I really had no idea. And then because I never had my arm like being put in that position before, that all went down a bit weird. Like, I wasn't resisting, but it felt like resisting because it was just my natural response. So they pushed me against the car. They were super unprofessional with getting the cuffs on. Took them super long. Like, at some point, at that point, I was getting a little bit, feisty, I would say. I was like, hey guys, do you need help? Like, it literally took them 20, 30 seconds to get the cuffs on together. And so then I was in cuffs. She led me to the back of my car facing her car that was behind me. And I look over my shoulder and I see that the other officer is searching my car without permission from me, which is interesting, of course. And then while I'm at the car, this lady just like starts talking to me and like louder and louder. It was really bizarre. Like, she was really trying to get something out of me, some kind of response. Then they placed me in the police car. And then they said, well, these are your rights, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to get your car towed away. And then do you want to tell us where your ID is, or do you want us to turn the car upside down? At that point, I told them. They were crazy stupid. They couldn't find it, even though it was just in the console. So eventually they found it. And then I saw the towing truck. I still thought, like, to a certain degree, that they were bluffing. I saw the towing truck come up, and my car, which is also my house, I've literally spent like over 160 nights in there in the past year. I see them load my car onto the towing truck, and at that point I knew they were not bluffing anymore. So they towed my car away. At least they gathered all my money and my laptop, and then they drove me to their reservation. Oh yeah, and during the arrest, I tried to film it. She stopped my recording twice. The first time she stopped it when she pulled me out of the car, which is also, according to the first lawyer I spoke to, is illegal. And then on the second one, I took my phone out again, even though I was cuffed. And then, of course, she took it away, as she should have done. So they drive me to their police office on reservation, where their jail is located. And this is like in the middle of nowhere in the woods. Later on, there wasn't even a cell phone signal when I was released. I was kept in there for 2.5 hours, getting multiple visits from different officers. And what was really interesting is on the way there, I was sitting in a car of the male officer, and we were just having like a super good, pretty much a fun talk where we just talked about advantage play and casinos and stuff like that. And then when he put me into my cell, like, he said, oh, I really appreciate how cooperative you have been. And then when he stepped outside, like, he turned to me again and he said, I really mean it. Like, thank you for that. And that was super cooperative. So me and him were vibing. The female officer was just one. She really didn't like me at all. Like, I guess she just felt disrespected that I didn't follow her order. We spoke a couple times about why I didn't want to give my ID. And later on, I explained to her, like, I'm not going to bend for a casino misusing their police to get my ID. But she just didn't seem to understand that because she kept asking me why I didn't just give ID. But yeah, ethics didn't really seem to be her thing. So I was in that cell for a while. The last police officer was a dick about it. He was pretending nice, asking me how I was doing. I asked him how he was doing, and then he was like, oh yeah, I'm doing fine. Like, I'm about to go to my family, have dinner with them, blah, blah, blah. Like, really stressing the fact that I was locked up and that he was free. Some mind games there, I guess. After 2 hours, I was done with walking around in my cell and, I don't know, doing handstands and just trying to keep myself busy and singing and whatever to make the time pass. So I started to rest. And as soon as I started to rest, they let me out of the cell, which really made me feel like they were just waiting, just seeing like how crazy I would get, just really make me feel like I had to be present there in that cell, rethinking of what I did or whatever, because as soon as I fell asleep, they just opened it and let me out. They counted out all the money, and I didn't realize this until I spoke to my lawyer, but I've been really lucky. They did not confiscate that huge sum of money. Even the lawyer was surprised that they didn't do that after what they did. It would have been real easy money for them at that point, but I guess I was lucky there, so I was running a bit above EV there. And then they gave me the charges. First charge being refusing to show ID. The second one was resisting arrest, which is just absolute nonsense. Just ramping up the charges there. And the third one was hiding my license plate. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because, yes, when I go onto a parking lot, I hide my license plate and I keep it hidden until I leave that parking lot. So when what I thought was a surveillance car followed me, I still kept the cover down. As soon as we went on the road and I was pulled over, like I stopped almost immediately after hitting the road. I instantly revealed my license plate before she could even approach my car and anything. However, at no point in time, any of the police officers mentioned that I was hiding my license plate. And frankly, I forgot about it because of the whole situation. This is what I told my friends too. If she had come up to the window, just said, "Hey, you are hiding your license plate. I want to see your ID," I would have realized that I did something criminal. I would have given her my ID happily. Like I'm flyered all over the country anyway. I'm high up in every database. I was even surprised they didn't know me yet. I don't mind giving up my ID, but not for a bullshit reason. And she only gave me bullshit reasons, and I forgot about the legitimate reason. So yeah, she said, "Yeah, you were hiding your license plate. So yeah, you get a fine for that too. You got a court date for like this and this date. Make sure you appear." And then I was like, "Wow, I gotta go to court for this." Like for me, that was pretty wild. Didn't expect that. I just expected a fine or a couple of fines or whatever. But apparently I had to go to court. Then I left the middle of nowhere place without a car. But the officers were nice and they said, "Yeah, we can drive you there. It's okay." So that was like a 10 or 15 minute drive. So they drove me to my car. I had to buy that out for like $350, which was a shame. And then the search for a lawyer started. Since this is already turning into something that's taking way too long, I'm going to keep it short. It was really hard finding a lawyer. Crazy how unresponsive multiple firms were. Also, there was one firm that just kept me on a leash for 5 weeks and then at some point said, "No, sorry, we cannot take it." But yeah, in the end, I found a lawyer. I was expecting like, oh, okay, so I go to court. It's going to be an easy case. Like, this is all bullshit. It's going to be like maybe 1.5 to maybe 3,000. And the first quote I got was 5,000 to 7,500 starting fee. So it could even go higher. And another lawyer I found with good reviews was 5,000 flat fee. So I ended up going for that one, which was a terrible experience. Super unresponsive. Like until today, I'm still like trying to get an email back, and it was just they were just not answering anything. You got to imagine that I'm a European. Like I'm not familiar with court at all. Not in my home country, especially not in the U.S. And at some point they said, "Yeah, we're trying to get you." The lawyer said, or not even the lawyer. I only spoke to the lawyer finally on the last day after months. Spoke to one of his co-workers, which was not a legal representative, just someone that was working on my case. And I was going to hear back from him on a Friday, and on Monday my court case would be. And then on Thursday, he said, "Yeah, this guy is going to contact you and let you know if like the court date has been moved or not." And then on Friday, I didn't hear anything, and I called him, and like I still didn't hear anything. And on Sunday, I was like, "What the hell? I don't even know if I have to appear tomorrow." So I sent a text. I called him in on Monday morning. I drove all the way to Louisiana, and I was already at the East Coast like the days before. So it was a long drive there anyway. I sit in court at 8 in the morning. And that was the first time I was like scared. I'm like, wow, I'm in court. My case is going to be soon. I don't even know if I have to be here or if I even have a lawyer. And then finally I got called forward, and apparently he wasn't even from my law firm. It was a weird situation, but I had to step to the front, and then we just pled not guilty. 30 seconds and I could go again. So that was a huge waste of my time. So then we got an actual trial date a couple months later, and again, a lot of unresponsiveness. 2 days before the court, because I was really like pissed, and I called them. I said like, wow, guys, I just can't reach you. There's nothing happening in my case. I finally spoke to someone. I showed him the 2 videos that I had. He really wanted to have those. The one video was of the interaction with the male officer where he says like, yeah, you refused ID. That was fine. No, like that's your legal right. And the other one was when I actually got arrested and me being like cooperative and completely going against the police report of the resisting. Like that definitely proved I wasn't resisting at all. So yeah, I went to court. I sit in court, and again, I don't see my representation anywhere. I don't even know how this guy looks. The guy on Wednesday said, yeah, like we'll be there both, the lawyer and I. And then I didn't see the other guy that I video called earlier either. So I was sitting there for 45 minutes, and it's like, wow, this is really going to happen again. I paid $5,000 for this. And finally, my lawyer came up and said, yeah, you're probably wondering where I was. He literally had like those, I don't even know how you call them in English. He had those sleepy crumbs in his eyes, the dried up tears or whatever it is. And he said, yeah, I'm negotiating this and that, blah, blah, blah. Just follow me. I'm going to explain to you what's going to happen. So he negotiated. We sit in a waiting room at some point, and I tell him like, yeah, you've seen the videos, right? And then he's like, which videos? I'm like, wow. But at that point, I thought that was not the right time to make a fuss out of it. I'm like, I'm happy he's here. I need him to work on the case and not like on the other things that play in my mind. So, yeah, after that, no, actually the week before scrap all that. So, yeah, MW, I think you can like edit this and put it somewhere else earlier. On that Wednesday, when I had the video call with one of the people from the law firm, they told me what the prosecutor offered as a deal. And it's as follows. So apparently in the months leading up to the first offer, they added an extra charge, the 4th charge, which was refusal to show driver's license on top of refusal to show ID. And then the court offered to, or not court, but a prosecutor, they offered if I plead guilty to resisting arrest and resisting officer by failure to provide ID, then the other 2 charges will be ignored. On top of that, there will be a 1-year probation, and the probation will be supervised at a rate of $100 per month, which also would mean that I would have to come back to Louisiana once a month, which is a ridiculous offer for someone that doesn't live in the United States. Like, you guys wouldn't even allow me to be in the US every single month. What a bullshit. And there will be another $1,200 in like probation officer fees. And if I would do something bad during my probation, then the 2 charges will be 30 days jail, or up to 30 days jail each. And on top of that, $500 fine, $240 in court costs, something like an assessment. I would have to do a course in anger management, which is pathetic since I was super chill throughout everything. I mean, I even got complimented on that by one of the officers. And I would get trespass from the Coushatta tribe. Of course, we didn't agree on that, so that's why my lawyer came, and then they go negotiate with the prosecutor. And in the end, they came with the deal of me having to pay a $1,200 something fine. So it's pretty much the same as the other probation fee, even though it's unsupervised probation, what I get. It will be 1 year probation still. And if I would do something wrong, like, I don't know, crazy speeding ticket or whatever, they would have the right to still have those charges being put to trial. And on top of that, I would have to do a course in corrective thinking and a course in defensive driving. So they gave me this card and they crossed the two courses on there, and it had a website. So I immediately went to the website to see like how expensive it was, how long it would take. It was like 4 hours each, $75, not too bad. But the defensive driving course wasn't there. So I said like, okay, well, this course is not an option. I got this, and this, and then it was so random. This was just like one of the probation officers, I think, and she just said, oh yeah, well, then just do like the other one of the driving. Like, it's like if you give a course to someone, you kind of want to see some change in behavior, but this just showed that they only do it so they can break in some money and they can punish me by wasting time. It just shows nothing of a willingness to see me rehabilitated or anything like it. It's such a joke. However, I did take that deal, and the reason for that is it took so much time to get to Louisiana twice. First time was on the East Coast. Second time I had to drive all the way back from San Francisco. It's in the middle of nowhere, so I could have also flown into an airport 4 hours from there and then rent a car, etc. But this was just like the most economic thing to do. So it's taken up a lot of time, a lot of resources. And if I would negotiate on, that would take another few visits to court there. And that would just get so expensive and time consuming as well that this was the best thing to do. Even though I hate it because you're kind of admitting that you did wrong. And I really feel like I didn't do anything wrong, except for maybe the license plate. But like I said, that was never mentioned to me. So yeah, it's pretty wild. It was a very interesting cultural experience altogether. I learned that the courthouse, they get paid partially by the fines that they charge onto people, and that just, it blows my mind, because that, from a base point, that doesn't make the legal system unbiased. It makes the courthouse biased to actually charge someone a fine and fees and stuff like that. Like, how is that possible in a developed country like the US? Then what was also interesting to see is, it was like I was in a movie when I was in court, and you get these people that hear their bonds or their bills or like whatever you call it, and they get led into court like all cuffed and in their yellow suits or orange suits or whatever it was. That was very interesting to see. Of course, the Pledge of Allegiance, I think it's called, to experience that, and like all rise for the judge. I wouldn't say it was the 8K that I wasted on this whole thing worth it, but yeah, it was definitely interesting to see. And the last thing that really surprised me, I already briefly mentioned it, but the police officer and her police report. The fact that she was straight up lying. And it wasn't a bad memory kind of thing, not a bad recollection of events kind of thing. No, she was straight up making up multiple things just to cover her ass. Like, she said that when she pulled me over, the other officer arrived and they went up to my car together. Like, no, that didn't happen. You sit in your car for 5 or 10 minutes looking for the actual reason to pull me over, then come up to me alone. That's what happened. Then, like I said, she wrote that I was refusing to get out of the car 4 times. I did not refuse at any point. She wrote in the police report that she came up to my car and told me I was pulled over for suspicious behavior and hiding my license plate, covering her complete ass for the arrest and everything. I'm a man of high ethics, I would say. And I'm from a country where you can actually trust I would say 99% of the police officers. How can you do that? How can you become a police officer? I would say a noble role to make the world a better place, to make the world a safer place, and then just be so absolutely crooked that you do things that are unlawful and then press charges on me, make my life difficult, just, I don't know, is it falsify documents? At least lie about something, even though your main focus point should be integrity in your job. And I think that's just a huge cultural difference. And here I'm not saying that like every cop in the US is crooked or anything. Like, I have a lot of respect for all officials. But I mean, it just links with the view on police we have in Europe and the US. It's just everything is so exaggerated. There's no part of de-escalation anywhere. They're just looking for a reason to charge you or whatever. So yeah, that definitely didn't help. Still, I love the US. It's a great country. I feel that there's a lot of prejudice against a lot of things in the US from Europe, which I feel like a lot of them are not true. The people are just super nice, much more enjoyable than in Europe, I would say. A lot of things are very well taken care of. They are progressive in different ways than in Europe. Of course, they're also more conservative. That was the word. That's the word I was looking for. They're more conservative in a lot of ways too, yes. But I also see that they're developing in other ways. So yeah, I still enjoy being here a lot, but this definitely changed my perspective on police. And probably some of you are wondering if there's not a lawsuit in there somewhere with like an unlawful arrest and her breaking into my phone to stop the recording. And the first lawyer that I spoke to that was just way too expensive in the end said that there are a couple of things that are worth a lawsuit. But the problem for him was that we cannot charge or we cannot sue the tribal police department because they, of course, you can't really touch them. So we would have to sue the officer individually. And he said that she's probably making like $8 to $13 an hour. So it's not really worth it to do like a multiple year process or a multiple year trial. And then my own lawyer, the one that I hired in the end, said that he doesn't think that it's too likely that it would be resolved in my favor. So, yeah, I decided not to do that. I know there's other lawyers out there that might think about it differently. Maybe if any of you is listening right now and you're like, wow, this is really, really a case I want to get into and I think we can make a lot of money on it, sure, contact MWUSA or contact me. But yeah, I just really want to leave it behind me, so I'm not actively looking for compensation anymore. Definitely not looking to ever get back to Louisiana, honestly. Well, that was quite the talk. Hope you guys enjoyed my misery and maybe learned something from it. I hope you all have better luck out there than I did on this case, at least. And make them pay, and especially Coushatta in Louisiana. See ya.